What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So ever since 2020, when the PlayStation 5 released, the PS4 took a backseat to the next-gen system, as we would expect. But based on a recent report from Bloomberg, it does appear that Sony isn't ready to move on from that PS4 system just yet. We're going to go over that one here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Kirby and the Forgotten Land. It had its release date revealed along with an interesting new feature. And we had another game delay that's been announced. This being a game that was going to head into Game Pass here in the coming months. Looks like we're going to have to wait just a bit longer. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below and ring that notification bell so you can keep up to date with all the uploads here on the channel. And we're going to start today with Red Dead Online. This is a story that many of you were sending to me, as it appears that Rockstar and Take-Two have just forgotten about Red Dead Online. And I'll admit, I checked it out a bit initially and then kind of moved on myself. I did enjoy Red Dead Redemption 2, I just didn't get into the online part of it, although I didn't really get into Grand Theft Online either. But we can see some of these tweets here that started this hashtag that's Save Red Dead Online, and this seemed to start to pop up over this past week after Rockstar Games tweeted out, start off the new year with bonuses on a land of opportunities, call to arms, gang hideouts, and more all month long in Red Dead Online. See, the issue is they haven't really done any serious content updates for Red Dead Online in like a year and a half. I think this July it'll be 2 full years. There have been rumors about there being a next-gen patch for Red Dead Redemption 2, and maybe that's something they're working on now. It's just odd that a game that sold really, really well with Red Dead 2, the online wouldn't be more active from Rockstar and Take-Two. They seem to be all about these service-based games, at least if it's called Grand Theft Auto Online. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe because it's Red Dead Redemption 2 Online or Red Dead Online that they're not as interested. Hard to say. It's just strange that they forgot about this online service that was part of a game that sold extremely well for them. Here's hoping they have a substantial update happening sometime in 2022. Also, heads up for Nintendo Switch Online subscribers, it looks like a game trial period will be starting today, and you can see this tweet from Nintendo of America. Prepare to dodge dangers in Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, available for Nintendo Switch Online members to try from January 13th, 10 a.m. Pacific, to January 20th, basically midnight there. This title is available to purchase on the Nintendo Switch eShop for 30% off as well, up until January 16th. It's odd that's like midway through the week is when they cut that part off, but then it still runs until the 20th. Anyway, this is a good game to drop into the game trials. If you have not played Treasure Tracker, it's a blast. Completely recommend it here. And it's just, I guess, another benefit for Nintendo, just drop these games in there. And 30% off. I mean, this is a game that I think's had substantial discounts prior, especially this recent holiday season. I feel like this game's been marked down pretty well, but if you've never tried it, it's just at least a benefit for the Nintendo Switch Online service. Make sure you check it out. Oh, and we've occasionally talked about things like Twitch Plays, or like Twitch Plays Pokemon. We've had Twitch Plays like Dark Souls and stuff. Well, the new thing seems to be Twitter Plays, and take a look at this here. We've talked about one previously, but this is, I guess, just Twitter Plays Pokemon Crystal. That's from Screen Shakes, where the avatar will change like every 15 to 20 seconds with the next scene that people in the replies have navigated to. You essentially go to that pinned comment they have here, and it's a whole thread of people saying up, down, A, B, start, select, all of that. In fact, it looks like Twitter has managed to take out the first gym. You can see this tweet saying Faulkner's team was burned to ashes by Quilava, the Quilava. So there you go. They're off and running now. It's just something fun to check in on here time to time to see if, yeah, Twitter can beat Pokemon Crystal. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with how Sony is working to solve the situation around PlayStation 5 shortages. And that's manufacture more PlayStation 4 systems. At least that's how some headlines were kind of painting it. It seemed to confuse a lot of people based around these different headlines. Like, for example, we can see this being the main report that was floating around. Sony is dealing with PlayStation 5 shortage by making more PS4s. PlayStation 4 production to continue until end of this year. Sony had aimed to make a quick transition between consoles. And I mean, I do believe that plans changed heavily behind the scenes with Sony, the PS4, and the PS5. I know people laugh about the idea of they believe in generations, But I really think they were looking around like, oh, cool, we're going to move right to the PS5 because history says that's what they would have done if it wasn't for things like the chip shortage and the supply chain being disrupted as much as it has been. This from Bloomberg, saying the strategy would add about 1 million PS4 units this year to help offset some of the pressure on the company's PS5 production, a figure that will be adjusted in response to demand. The people said the older console uses less advanced chips it's similar to make and provides a budget-friendly alternative to the PS5. Increasing production orders by adding the cheaper-to-make PS4 would also give Sony more leeway when negotiating with manufacturing partners for a better deal, two of the people said. If we jump over here to Daniel Ahmed, he put together a nice chart showing that we're still kind of on a decline when it comes to PlayStation 4 shipments. So 1 million PS4s over the course of a year is still kind of a downtrend from like 2021, for example. And if you kind of split that up by quarters, it's not as many as like 1 million sounds, right? So I'm looking at this. One, it's kind of funny that the PS4 has turned into sort of a bargaining chip that Sony is going around to manufacturers and saying, okay, we need a bunch of parts for the PS5 and you may not make as much money on that, but we're also going to make this PS4 and you'll make more money producing that for us. We'll just kind of lump this all together. Maybe it raises the average around profits and cost and all those different things. Keep in mind, this is the PS4 Slim. It's not the PS4 Pro. And now it's starting to make more and more sense why all of a sudden a lot of PS4 stuff started popping up in advertisements. They obviously were not ready to deal with this because we went through the whole thing around upgrading. Like, originally, they seemed to try to do things like tie it to a special edition, or you have to spend like $100 some odd to get the PS4 version along with the PS5 version. And now they've moved over to it's $10. They wanted to raise the price of the PS5 games and make that clean break. They just can't make enough PS5 systems, so they have to fall back on plans to continue manufacturing and producing PS4s. I'm sure in a perfect world, they would have left the PS4 behind and just started building up the PS5 as fast as possible. You don't think if they could make 30 million PS5s in a year, they wouldn't sell them? Right now, based on demand, yeah, I don't think they have any issue with that. Now, as far as I can tell, Sony has opened up sales for the PS4 Slim on their PlayStation Direct website. I don't know if 1 million units overall globally for the PS4 is going to be enough to just start popping up in like Walmarts and Best Buy or different retail stores. They may just keep it online only right now. Basically, go to Sony's website. There's no PS5 for sale, but hey, look, there's a PS4 and, well, Horizon's going to it, God of War's going to it, and Gran Turismo. That way they can at least still get you into the PlayStation ecosystem, and then maybe you upgrade to the PS5 later on when it's more available, especially since they are apparently going to be launching a big subscription service with Project Spartacus here in the coming months. It's just Sony's stuck in this position and they're just trying to figure out what to do, and that comes down to, well, if we can't manufacture 1 million or so more PS5s, we might as well just do 1 million more PS4s, and yeah, throw it in as an incentive for different suppliers to maybe pick up our orders since they're more profitable to make. Also, I'm going to be curious to see how long these PS4 cross-gen games last. Like, will God of War, which we assume is the last first-party Sony title to come out this year, it's probably like their big holiday thing, will that be the last cross-gen game, or are we going to see PS4 games from Sony's first party in 2023? That'd be very strange for them since they really do like to clean break and just start developing immediately to get as many people over to the new system as fast as possible. But I guess we'll find out after God of War and we get into 2023 if we continue to see that little PS4 logo next to the PS5 logo. Next up, let's talk about a game delay that was announced yesterday, and that is for Stalker 2. It was originally supposed to be releasing at the end of April, but it looks like we're going to end up waiting till the end of the year. We can see this tweet. This was posted up by the Stalker official handle saying, "We have made a decision to postpone the release of Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl to December 8th, 2022. These additional 7 months of development are needed to fulfill our vision and achieve the desired state of the game. Stalker 2 is the biggest project in the history of GSC, and it requires thorough testing and polishing. We are convinced that development should take as long as necessary, especially in the case of such a project. This decision is not an easy one, but we are doing the best possible to deliver you a game that can live up to the expectations. With more information, updates, and showcases coming, we have an exciting and important year ahead. Thank you for your patience and understanding. So Stalker in general, if you go back a decade plus when the last release for the Stalker name was, they're not exactly bug-free games. There's typically a lot of stuff that can go wrong with them, and they'll work to patch them over time. Stalker 2 is one that I was questioning how it would come out just because of their history with those bugs and generally what they like to push for with the very ambitious nature of the series. This was one that was going to drop into Game Pass day one at the end of April. Seemed to be a 3 to 4 month timed exclusive, and then you would probably see it show up on PlayStation towards the end of this year, which would have set them up for a good holiday run. Now, December 8th, it'll still drop into Game Pass, but would then show up on PlayStation first quarter or maybe just first half of 2023. And it also, to me, comes back to when they made that announcement for NFTs, and then they ripped them out immediately. They're like, well, hold on, we don't want to do that now because of the backlash. But it sounded like they did have quite a bit of integration in mind, at least. Now, could that be them just trying to take advantage of the market with NFTs and, oh, we could work this in and we'll just show them what it could be, and then if they don't want to do that, we won't put it in? Hard to say, because I kind of think they had already started working it into the game. Backlash, they rip it out, and maybe that caused other issues. But unfortunately, a game that, I was looking forward to checking out in April, we waiting till the end of the year. Next up, let's talk about Kirby and the Forgotten Land. And I will say, when this was first shown, I was pretty excited because it's been what I've wanted them to do at HAL and Nintendo for a while with a series that I think was becoming pretty stale. You saw a Kirby game and you, for the most part, knew what you were getting. And then they showed this game and it just completely changed for me, which is great. I'm looking forward to a Kirby game. Who'd have thought? But there is this tweet here. This from Nintendo America. Kirby's back for an unforgettable adventure. Use the Tough Puff's powerful copy abilities to defeat formidable foes and rescue the Waddle Dees when Kirby and the Forgotten Land soars to Nintendo Switch on March 25th, 2022. So good to see that there were rumors all over the place about this game coming out in April or May. I think there were a lot of guesses being thrown out there. So I'm pretty happy that this game's out in 2.5 months, and the trailer they showed looked really good. Like the environment, some of the almost puzzles they were showing off there looked interesting. Kirby has a gun. Also, Waddle Dee appears to be part of the co-op aspect to this game. That's right, and it kind of plays into the Switch. You have 2 Joy-Cons. You figure, okay, you take one, you hand to a friend, they're Waddle Dee, they're running around with their spear, and you're Kirby doing the copy ability. And maybe that'll work into some of the puzzles, although I don't know if they can get too crazy with it because they would still want you to be able to complete it by yourself if you didn't have someone else to play with. It's just a fun way to include another person if they wanted to jump into, like I said, a really good-looking Kirby game so far. We'll see when it comes out, but everything I've seen so far in this trailer, the idea of it being kind of like this open world 3D Kirby style game is exciting. So I'm looking forward to this one, and I guess we'll find out more about it over the coming months as we work towards its March 25th release. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about an update around Twisted Metal, which is a game that's been rumored for a while now, especially with that series coming up in 2023. We found out through reports that Sony was working to create a new Twisted Metal game. We found out that Lucid Games was working on it. Then we found out that it was being shifted to another studio. And now we know which studio that is. We can see this posted up by VGC, who has been following these developments as we've gone along. PlayStation's newly acquired Firesprite Studio has taken over Lucid Games' unannounced Twisted Metal reboot and poached its game director. What's interesting about this is people spotted the game director's last day at Lucid, and then they're going to be starting at Firesprite. They actually were the director for MotorStorm, which, if you play MotorStorm now, has some really good destruction elements to it. If you crash in MotorStorm, your vehicle will just explode into all these pieces, and that was on the PS3. But if you take a look at Firesprite, which we, of course, had the recent announcement, they were co-developing Horizon Call of the Mountain for PlayStation VR 2 on the PS5 with Guerrilla Games. They have at least worked on some stuff like Wipeout. That was in previously when they were mostly Studio Liverpool, but since then they have been working on a lot of PlayStation VR games, or just VR games in general. I mean, you can see they had the Playroom, Run Sackboy Run, but then the Playroom VR, Air Force Special Ops Nightfall, the Persistence VR. Of course, they're working on Horizon Call of the Mountain, but I do wonder if they may even work PSVR 2 into Twisted Metal just as a mode, and it would be a cool way for Sony to, of course, push those headsets along with different releases. Now, they're currently 265 employees, and they're working on several projects right now, but they seem like they're set to work on Twisted Metal with the previously MotorStorm developer coming over from Lucid Games. I guess Sony looked at Lucid Games, saw what happened with Destruction All-Stars, and liked their odds a bit better with Firesprite. But let me know what you think about this, because Twisted Metal keeps moving around with all these developments, now moving from one studio to the next. Are you excited for Twisted Metal potentially coming up in 2023 next to that series? Because to me, it does appear that it's happening now. There just seems to be so much information getting out there. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're taking a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, which system are you buying Horizon Forbidden West on if you're getting it? 28% said the PS4, 72% said the PS5. And I am wondering if some people, even if they have a PS4, may just be holding off on Horizon, just if they can find a PS5 sometime this year. I mean, the upgrade path is at least there to where it would even out to being the same $70, but I guess if you wait looking for a PS5, you might find Horizon on sale like 30% off or something on the PS5. I do see some people who are like, it's still last gen. I'd like to get this big new title from Sony on a next gen system, so I'm gonna wait till I find a PS5. I don't know, the footage they've shown on the PS4, it still looks really good. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Diago saying, if Nintendo isn't backwards compatible, especially for digital games, I'm not sure I'll jump on board this time. So we've talked about this a bit over the last year or so. Whenever the next gen Switch stuff comes up, will Nintendo have backwards compatibility for like their next gen Switch with the current games you have now? I believe they will, barring some like crazy redesign and massive shift in philosophy around the system. I think they're going to stick with the hybrid design, and I believe they might even use the same or very similar cartridges, probably the same kind of cartridge slot, so that'll at least work. And based on some of their recent investor reports, they seem to be placing a lot of emphasis on this Nintendo account system that they have created to make it easier to transition to systems going forward. Nintendo wants you to buy the next Switch system they have, and they want you to buy it quickly and get you to move over. So I don't think they would put roadblocks in place of like, hey, all of your previous games won't work on this one, because that would put some people off and make them feel like they should stick with their current Switch rather than make the jump. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today, where Sony's plans to continue producing the PlayStation 4 system throughout 2022. How do you feel about this cross-gen period that seems to have gone a bit longer than Sony was hoping for? And then what about Kirby the Forgotten Land coming March 25th? But what do you think about some of the footage they've shown so far? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.